Buzzers, we are talking episodes 3 and 4 of Netflix's new show, The Crown. We've got King Edward abdicating the throne and the Great Smog. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Such an apt song for this.
Yes.
I thought These Hoes Ain't Loyal by Chris Brown would be more appropriate, but
We're doing that one next week.
Yeah, we'll save
I
that.
already, we can't, you know, she said
I always
it
get
first.
outvoted here.
Yeah. Well, you're the guy.
No.
Girls
Is that how
gotta
it goes?
stick together.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yes, yes.
Oh, girls have to stick together?
That's right.
Yes.
That works so well for Hillary Clinton.
Oh,
Hey, everyone.
We went
too
there.
soon, too
Hey
soon.
guys, what's up? It's Angela Struck here. I am your host. We are talking Netflix's The Crown. I'm super excited. There were some really good episodes, 3 and 4. You can find me on social media at The Angela Struck on Twitter and Angela Struck on Instagram. And introduce you guys, my co-hosts, my lovely co-hosts.
Hello, my name is Tsahai. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Say Hi Tsahai. That's SayHiTsahai.
Hi, Sahai.
I know, I love that.
Here's the thing. I'm the bathrobe heartthrob. I'm always in my bathrobe because I always feel at home, especially when we're on this panel.
Right.
Find me all across social media, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, on the gram at I am Tehran because I really am Tehran. Like, my name's Tehran. I am Tehran. IAMTEHRAN. Find me.
I love your bathrobe.
I mean,
I
so
need to get
comfortable.
one and wear it here all the
It
time.
makes me feel at home when I see
Yeah.
you in your
I'm
bathrobe.
Make me comfortable and cozy.
Right.
I will never be as pretty as either one of you, but I will always be extremely comfortable.
Aw, such a gentleman.
the way to my heart.
Such a heartthrob.
Compliments. False compliments.
Yeah. Jerk.
I feel like a royal.
You're wearing a royal robe.
Well, actually, it's
How
a raggedy
apropos.
robe. It's not silk or anything. But I felt like the royals throw a lot of shade at each other. Like,
They
I'm
do.
all about that.
This
like,
episode
Well,
especially.
this one, exactly. Nice segue. We started the episode with a flashback to 1936 when King Edward is abdicating the
Yes.
throne. And we kind of see all this drama between the family, words back and forth and everything. What did you guys think?
Well, we got to see how King George, how it affected him. We saw him as a regular guy, you know, with his family, and how his brother's decision totally changed the course of his life.
Yeah.
And for some, they think it actually killed him. So
Yeah.
it was
well,
great.
the mom,
Right.
Yeah,
like,
Queen Mary.
Right.
yeah, Queen Mary. And she's
she
kind of
doesn't
a
hold
B
back.
word.
Yeah.
She's a little B
She
word.
is
I mean,
definitely.
she's a little.
That's
she's
a little harsh
stuck in a
for
way.
Queen Mary. She's a lady.
Okay, and listen,
she's-
I'm not an English subject, so I'll say whatever I want, and we have free speech in this country,
yeah.
and I'm
We'll
gonna
let
use
it
it,
slide. We'll
especially
let
when
it
it comes to
slide.
this show, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm watching this, I'm like, really, you're gonna feel like it's a burden? Yo, please let me be king.
Yeah.
Please.
You would
Buckingham
love it,
Palace
yes.
is a problem.
I-
Like, please, like, have you seen my condo? Your bathroom is the size of my condo, my dude. Please.
That's
Like,
probably very true.
this is,
Yeah.
talk about first world problems. This is like, this
Yeah.
isn't even first world problems. This
Right.
is like royal blood problems.
I 100% agree. They don't even actually, as we've kind of discussed a little bit, they're not like the only ruler. You know, I mean, there's the prime minister and
Well,
everything.
they're not
It's
the
like,
ruler, they're
right,
just a
that's what I
figurehead.
mean. They're
Right.
really just a figurehead. So
Right.
I don't think the job is probably that tough. I mean, obviously they are, you know, schedules are probably insane and they're expected to be at a lot of things, but it's certainly not being like the president of the
Exactly.
United
You know
States.
who has no
Like,
schedules? Homeless people. And
Right.
that's how
Yeah.
the opposite of who the royals are.
Yes.
Like, you're just not. Buckingham Palace is
Yeah.
a palace. You live.
Yeah.
People are like, "Yo, this is my palace." No, they literally live in a palace.
I know.
And I mean, it's not like they have a real job.
Right.
You know, it's not like they're not waking up at 8 a.m. and struggling
Right.
to get
No,
the kids.
they're
to go.
not
They have
hustling.
help.
Yeah.
They
They
have a lot of
have,
help,
you know,
but it's-
servants to help
let's
them. So
not
they're
take
not
away from
like
what they do.
struggling.
Speaking of, did you guys notice when they like she pressed the button, Queen Elizabeth, and for the door to be opened? They literally don't even open their own doors.
Exactly.
Of course
Like they don't
not.
take
Yeah.
off their own clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing okay.
They're
So,
rogues.
but I love the fact that he did this for love. Like,
Yes, I thought. What did you guys think? Did you feel it was a true love story between King Edward and Wallis Simpson, who had been married 3 times, including Edward,
Right.
Which we were just discussing. And I mean, do you think that she was this tart that kind of, manipulated him into falling in love?
I think
And
She's a gold digger.
Yeah.
Listen,
No, I don't
it's
think
not
she
a
was a gold
coincidence.
digger.
Every single man she's married is rich,
Yeah.
and now she married the king,
Yeah.
and then she fights for getting the title. Like
Yeah.
that's what she wants more than like he's like I promised her the title. No,
Yeah.
she wants the title.
Yeah.
You know what
Look,
I'm
she
saying?
didn't force him to do anything he didn't want to do. Maybe she used her womanly wiles to persuade him. I mean, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But
She
I
knew
kind
what
of
she was
felt,
doing.
I kind of felt like the family is probably not too far off in their opinions of this woman. Like, I don't think she's probably like just this, sweet
No,
woman.
she's not a shrinking violet,
yeah.
but at the same time, she knows her power and she used it
She's basically
for the people
Lord
that it would work
Voldemort.
on.
Yeah.
And they're not even allowed to say her name. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like they understand.
Yeah.
Like and she's been painted horribly in
A lot of movies
In
like
history,
United
yeah,
Kingdom
right.
historically
Yeah.
as a charlatan and
Yeah.
as like a total whore and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I get that, right?
Homewrecker.
Yeah, and all these things. I feel like King Edward. Well, no longer King Edward, the Duke of Windsor.
Right.
The Duke of Windsor is like all about Wallace, and I hope that she loves him
Yeah.
too. But I know that like I wouldn't be willing to give up all that for her or anyone but her. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm looking and I'm like, like
Yeah.
like.
What do
Like,
you
I'm
mean?
just-
You're saying she's not a looker?
I
She
mean,
wasn't the
it's
most
not even
pretty
about
woman?
a looker. I'm just like,
But maybe they had different styles back then. I think she was probably very chic for the period.
Oh, definitely. From what I read, it's like she
yeah.
really worked on her look. Like
But I
fashion was
agree.
important for
Yeah.
her. But I think she just basically made him feel good. Like his family made him feel bad, and she found a way to make him feel
Exactly,
good.
and I think her American flair, she was probably very,
Exactly.
opinionated and sassy
Yes.
and things. I feel like she just wooed him with all of that.
she got a lot. She bit off more than she could chew because she didn't know that he would lose the one thing that she kind of wanted.
Yeah.
So he lost the major part. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
But she still got a
lost the
title in the
kingship.
end.
Yeah.
I mean,
She
not
got
in
a
this
title.
episode.
She's not
but
the queen.
No, but
Like,
that's not
she
what she
didn't-
really.
she
I think
didn't-
she was okay with
She
what she
certainly was like ruined. I think, even if she has the title, I think we can all agree that like her reputation in England is like horrific.
Yeah.
But I think she
So-
was
I
like
bet
a
you there are
really
no
tough
women walking
woman.
around called Wallace.
But she changed her name to Wallace. So I think this woman, like, she had her sights set on moving up in the world,
Yeah.
and that's what she did. And so she was tough. She was a tough cookie.
She got it. So anyway, okay, so then I thought, as you kind of said, Queen Mary was the most pissed about this whole situation.
Yeah.
She literally thinks that he killed her, or he killed her other son by abdicating the throne, which we all know actually was probably lung cancer, but like
Yeah, but it was
But
the
the
stress.
stress,
stress, yeah,
the
I mean,
smoke.
it definitely.
different
He
life.
wouldn't, and we do know that King George was, a very timid person. He, as we saw in the King's Speech and everything with his stutter, I mean,
Right.
it took a lot for him to step up to this role
Right.
of king in such a difficult period with, the
And he
war
wasn't
just ending
groomed
everything.
for it. It's
Exactly.
kind of like
If
he
you ex-
wasn't groomed. He wasn't ready
Planning
for
on
He
it.
wasn't planning
Yeah.
on it. He didn't like. It's like they knew both there was a chance,
Right.
But he was getting the secondhand lessons. Like,
Exactly.
they were really grooming Edward and teaching him what to do
Right.
and how to act. And we see that because even in episode 3, he's still really prim and proper,
Right.
and he plays the game like a champ.
Right. Yeah.
Like even the mom who hates him still loves him for his mind and
Right.
knows that he would have made possibly a
king.
better
Yeah,
king.
right.
But the way she was going in on the Duke of
That-
Windsor, she was like, "Your brother was the
She-
best.
I love
he
that.
was frugal. I'm so sorry that he is
She
gone
was like,
now.
he
You
truly
on the
was the perfect son.
exactly.
Like,
But you, on the other hand, she was
Yeah.
giving him the total side eye.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
you said about King George not being prepared, the same thing happened to Elizabeth. She was
Yeah.
thrust into this position.
Yeah.
And even Churchill said, your dad didn't even have time to really groom you.
Right. And they were calling him a private individual, making it very clear that he was no longer
Right.
a royal with, the abilities to.
And I
the
love that part
rights.
when he
Yeah.
says, when you're in, you don't really know you're in, but when you're out, you know you're out.
Right. It was very good.
It's
I
like the
liked all of it.
mafia.
Yes.
But can we also talk about all the shade that he was throwing? Like
That's
all
what I
the-
wanted to talk about. Yeah, so we go back to 1952, and he is talking smack about everybody
Everyone.
in his letter back to Wallace.
Yeah.
Because he
But-
feels free. He doesn't have the same bounds and obligations that they all do. So he doesn't he doesn't like have to teeter the line like they do. They have to actually be pretentious to one another.
Right.
He's just calling it how it is. He calls
But
her
I
Shirley
think that's because
Temple,
of Wallace.
Cookie?
like she's
Fat, common,
round.
and looks like a
Yeah,
cook.
Yeah,
I loved that.
But I think Wallace was the backbone that he never had. That's
Yeah.
why he suddenly manned up when he met her. And,
Yeah.
And I think he kind of always had this hate for his
Yeah.
family, and she just added the fuel to the fire that was already there.
Show that I'm on, I actually applied for the Illuminati, which they're all in. So please,
This is
my
your second
application's
week
still there.
referring to them.
Listen,
I see
because
the trend.
they run the world. Like that family runs the world, and
Yeah.
if you don't have the right leader, the right ruler, you give up a lot. You
Right.
literally give up a lot. This isn't just about a figurehead. This is also about a symbol. This is also about a commonwealth system. This is also about power.
But that's
Yeah.
why Wallace wanted to get in on that. She was like,
Yeah.
I see what this is. You were born into this, but I've worked my way up to this, so
It's
let me
funny.
get a piece of the pie.
We talk
But
about her
we-
so we didn't even see her.
Yeah.
We don't even know what she
we,
did.
Right.
Yes, we do. We saw those scenes where she was dancing
Yeah,
with him.
dancing.
Yeah.
But hopefully we see her more.
But it's interesting because, as we saw in episode 4, Queen Mary made it very clear that God has anointed these royals. I don't think you can, be an American and, get into this
Right.
life. They were ordained by God. That
That's
whole thing was
where the
pretty
crown comes
heavy.
from.
Yeah.
Like that's like the myth of the crown is it is ordained by God.
God.
This is a direct. I mean, this
So-
is a family who was able to change an entire religion
Yeah.
for a country based on
Right.
their needs.
Yeah.
Now, do you think Winston Churchill, although he's not a royal, do you think he feels like his position was also ordained in a way? Like that's why he fights so hard for it?
Maybe he feels like God had a purpose for him or something,
Yeah.
that he was this role that helped defeat Hitler and was such a powerful leader for
Right.
the people. I mean, I'm sure he definitely thinks he had a very solid purpose, but
Yeah.
I definitely think, even given the fact that we saw in the show, Elizabeth says to him, sit down, have some tea, whatever, and he's like, no, it's very
We're
clear.
supposed to stand.
We're
Your
supposed to
great-grandmother.
stand.
Yeah,
we
we know.
kiss you, we go to you, you're the royal.
I'm going to
not
play
the
my
royal.
position, you play yours.
Yeah. So I think he definitely knows there's a difference.
I think I think he feels like so empowered, and that's what makes him fight so hard for his position, and that's why he refuses to just let it go.
He's
and
the
let people-
consummate politician.
Yeah.
So he's cultivated power
Right.
while they've basically
been born into it.
They were born into it. So
Yeah.
they've just got it. It was part of their air.
It was given to them easily.
Exactly.
I think that's why the people
Earned it.
love him so much too.
They do.
I mean,
Yeah.
they can relate to him because he's one of them.
He's not.
The
He's very
royals are
educated
not.
and everything. But
right, but
he
I mean, in
portrays
their
it.
head,
Exactly.
in their mind, he's not a royal. He's just,
A guy like us
Exactly.
that worked
He's like
hard
their
and-
Abe Lincoln.
right. Exactly. Good parallel. I think that's pretty accurate. So then we basically see, all that nonsense with them, but then we see Philip kind of speaking to Elizabeth about what the things that they have decided that they want for their family. They want to be in Clarence House. They do not want to live in Buckingham Palace.
Right.
And he wants their children to keep his family name.
Right.
And so we see Queen Elizabeth and Churchill having kind of their first meeting, and they're not seeing eye to eye on basically anything.
I love this because this is where you really see Elizabeth it's like her first challenge, her first time challenging him, and her
Yeah.
first time putting her foot down. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna run this by everyone else," and she's like, "No, you're not."
No,
Yeah.
that was on the second run through. On the first run through, she kind of just gave in. He ran. Winston
But
Churchill ran.
eventually, she
because she
still
was
put her
kind of
foot
taken
down.
back because he brings up the ascension.
Coronation,
Yeah, he
yeah.
wants it to take a lot longer.
Right.
King George was
5
ascended
months.
with 5 months, and they
16
were
months.
boom.
But
I
if-
have in my notes too. So yeah,
Which
Eventually-
I
but
actually was like surprised she was able to do the math so quick because
Yeah.
she was like, "Well, that would be
But
16
it shows
months."
you
It
how
was like,
smart she
Yeah.
Wait,
is.
hold up. How?
You can't pull anything over her eyes just
Yeah.
because it's something you want that's going to benefit you.
Well-
She's
Right.
quick on her feet, and that's why
She
she's in this
wasn't
position.
that smart because she didn't figure it out until much later.
She
what it exactly was.
processed it.
She was able to do simple math. She wasn't understanding the concept
She
of
didn't
power.
because she's still new in that position, so she doesn't understand all the pieces, why the pieces pieces are moving like they are. But eventually she came to that decision. And there was a scene where she put her foot down and he said, oh, I'll run it by everyone. And she was like, no, you're not. This is what I want. And what I loved about that is because you see her struggling again with being queen and a wife and a mother and trying to balance those roles.
It is, but then she also goes to what her grandmother told her, which is you have to put the crown first.
Exactly.
And she then
100%.
decides, you know what? I am going to keep the family name Windsor.
Right.
I am going to live in Buckingham Palace because I'm a civil servant almost. I mean, she has to do what
She has
is
responsibility.
right. Yeah.
You love that life. You love that lifestyle. Well, this is what you have to give up.
Right.
You have to give up these things. Like, it's the same thing goes when celebrities are like, oh, the paparazzi, I hate them so much. But when you were trying to become a celebrity, you love the paparazzi.
Exactly.
So now that you've made it, it's
Part
the
of the
double-edged
course.
sword.
It's part
exactly.
of the, yeah.
But what do you think, how did you think that made her husband feel? The fact that she even just attempted to make his wish, you know, to do what he wanted.
I think it was such an interesting scene because in a normal marriage, I think we would all be like, she's awful because she's not taking his, feelings into consideration at all.
I want you guys to remember you're talking about this in a second when you're done. Just remember that this is the thing.
Well, I would feel, like, why wouldn't she take into consideration? But I think she really didn't have much of a choice. She had to do this, but I think he was very upset, and I think that was very clear, which I think is why he then decided to want to pursue his flying hobby and passion.
No,
because I
he
think
was going to pursue it anyway. He came in saying, I'm going to pursue flying, and then she was like, I have some bad news.
Yes, but I think he's feeling very stifled in his role, and I think that it all kind of led to it. Like, he's given a title, and he doesn't even know anything about it.
It emasculates him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think initially he was flattered that she was going to, like, there was initially some hope in his heart, like, okay, this might really happen. My family's name might really, you know, be the lasting name. And then it turned into
He has a bit of Wallace
disgust.
in him, too. He wanted to be the king and have his family, Mountbatten, be on the king's
And he also
mouth
had his
and
uncle
everything.
behind him saying, hey, make sure this happens. You know, I gave this name to you. But yeah, I loved Philip in this episode too. This whole flying, this new hobby.
I think that actor's amazing too.
He's amazing. Yeah. The fact that he was able to, I feel like flying for him was his only way to feel free.
Yes.
And I love the relationship.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Like when he's in the sky, he feels, apart from all of this drama.
And he's in control. This is the only place that he's in control.
Yeah.
And the fact that I loved seeing him and Peter together because it was a kind of like, I felt like they were like brother-in-laws and the buddies,
Boys in the locker room,
Yeah,
bro.
it was
Especially
good to
when he
see
found
them
the
like
purse.
that.
Exactly.
But it definitely emasculated him, and to the point where we didn't even know Philip was still alive. Let's be real.
Right.
Like, see, so he takes a back
Eventually,
seat,
yes.
and it emasculates him, and it takes him out the role. But what I was saying about that is, it is actually a Western thing to take your husband's name. So even in the Middle East, where everyone's like, oh, women don't have rights and stuff in Iran, like, women don't take their husband's names because they carry on their family legacy. So it's a very Western thing.
Interesting.
And it was declared, Queen Elizabeth's grandmother was the one who declared it and went to keep, the House of Windsor and make sure that it was like
Mary,
something.
I love her so much. Like,
Yeah.
I always love the older women in these shows because I feel like they're so strong. But the fact, can we talk about all the smoking that goes on? Like, everyone's like, why
course
is
everyone
everyone getting
smokes.
cancer? But then
They
everyone
didn't
is
know
smoking.
yet. They didn't know
They
yet.
didn't know. Literally at that period, doctors would tell you, this is healthy for you.
It's good for you to smoke.
Yeah.
Tobacco's the crop that actually saved the UK,
Right.
and also is
But
the reason why
one minute
a lot
she's
of us are here.
coughing,
So.
she's coughing, she's
Sure.
in the bed, and then she's smoking some
But
more.
you know what? That's also even nowadays. I mean, a lot of people that are dying at this point of
Right,
lung cancer
like
tend to want
Yeah,
to
but
smoke
now
at
they
that
know.
point.
People know now.
Definitely.
It's on the side
Now
of it.
they
Like, if
know.
you smoke now, you're kind of stupid. Like,
Right.
It's kind of like if you use crack now. After you've seen someone else use crack, why would you ever use crack? Like,
Right.
When it comes, because first of all, I hate Philip. So that we'll go there. But I do not like
What'd he do
Philip.
to
I
you?
do not like Philip.
Oh. What
did he
'Cause
do to you?
Look,
What? I
Philip
love
is
Philip.
shady. Like, Philip is cool because you got to understand, sometimes you got to be Stedman. Sometimes you got to be like, yo, you're Oprah and I'm Stedman.
And
Yeah.
he got
get
there.
it.
It was just difficult.
He
for
didn't
him.
get there. We don't see that get there. Like, we're waiting for him to get there.
But
Look,
I think
he's getting
here's
there
the
'cause he
thing.
has to.
It was a progression.
I think he also probably would have been okay being Stedman maybe later in life. I don't think they thought that George was going to die so fast. She was going to have this role so quickly,
Right.
and he was going to really be emasculated so early on.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think for a while there, as we saw when he was being knighted or given his title or whatever, that relationship, she was the one waiting out in the room. She was waiting to give him a kiss. He told her, sleep well. Like, he was definitely in the more powerful position.
Sure.
So he's had to now readjust completely to this role. And it does, but I definitely understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
It reminded me of those guys who have women who make more money and they can't stand it. Like, they can't handle that.
But at the same time,
sometimes you gotta let your girl. She
But
gets
we
to
live
be
in a
the
different
queen.
time,
But
too.
also,
I mean,
when it was cool, he enjoyed, he loved reaping the rewards. Like when they were in Africa, he was just leaning back. He gets to fly planes. You know, he gets all these perks. And there are scenes when you see him, just even his swagger, that he is very confident, and he's
how he protected her against the elephant.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, he's the.
You guys really like that. Like, listen, he wasn't protecting her against that. There was not, if the elephant decided to cry, they'd both be dead.
He saved her life.
Like,
okay.
yeah.
It was very beautiful.
Yes, it was very chivalrous.
I liked Queen Elizabeth stepping up. Like, why am I the feminist on this panel? Like, I like Queen Elizabeth stepping up and becoming.
I don't think things are so black and
white.
white. I don't think things are so black and white. I think that you can still be a strong woman, but understand that you can also be married to a strong man.
Right.
You
Sure,
know,
you
and
can,
they
but
both
not
they
in
have
this
to
situation.
figure.
She's the
But they
Queen
have to
of England.
figure it out, and I think they're doing the best job that they can.
She's not a person.
She
She is not a human. She is not a person. She is an entity.
At this point,
she is a corporation. She is no longer.
But everybody is a person. Everybody
We're
has
talking about this
emotions.
episode. Like in this episode, she is still a person because she's trying to stay in the smaller house. She's trying to keep her husband's name and just raise her kids.
So
and she even
sweet.
said to her
she
uncle,
said she hated Buckingham. It was not just him. They both didn't want that for their family.
Right.
So it's not just, you know, her opinions versus his opinions. They're on the same page about things. But now this entity is coming in.
And what do they think about the king that did want a normal life and want to be in love and all that? How did they treat?
I actually think she was very understanding of him.
She was.
She was like
She was
asking
nicer
him
to
for
him?
advice at the end. She really didn't hold it against him, and I think
but
that's
she
because
did ask him for an apology.
Apology,
though.
Yes.
and she only
because
didn't
she
keep
she
him.
understood that he took something from her.
100%.
Yes.
And she was like, "You need to
Yes.
apologize for
And
that
he
because my
gave
life
it,
could have been
because
totally
it's-
different."
Say
He
hi.
gave it. Yeah.
No, I'm saying she kept him. She kept him because Dad's dead. Like she even said, like, now I need your advice because I don't have my dad anymore,
around.
and at least yours will be from the heart, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Even though he's kind of making deals too. But the concept is
For his allowance.
she knew. I mean, sure, but she knew what the deal was. Once you become queen, this is what happens.
Yeah.
It's like, and we're going down. I'm going down your road this week, where I'm
Okay.
like breaking it down. It's like when Jay said, "I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman."
Right.
She is now the crown. She is
Right.
no longer Elizabeth. And
Alright,
even though
cool.
she kept
Good
her own
analogy,
name,
yeah.
she kept her name. Like her father didn't keep her name, his name, and everyone
Yeah.
changes their name.
Right.
She kept her name as Queen Elizabeth, and then the second, obviously, but. She understands what it is.
Mm-hmm.
She's been around it her whole life. And when she goes back to Buckingham Palace, what do they say? Welcome home.
Yeah.
Because this is where she belongs.
Right.
They also say, "Long live the queen," which I love.
Ordained by God. And she has lived
We
long.
also
She's
see
90
her,
years old.
her with her,
Yeah.
speaking in regards to her relationship with her uncle. She, as we see her in these next two episodes, she's developing her stance and her decision making process is becoming stronger. So
Right.
I love the part where she kind of checks him on what kind of dogs that he has. She's like,
Pugs.
Oh, yeah.
they
That's-
smell,
yeah, like
and they have a weird
Pugs.
yelp,
Wasn't it a pug or
But
something?
he's throwing
Yeah.
his pugs, but she's throwing shade. She's still
Yeah,
showing a
she's-
disdain
but she's
for
While
asserting-
she's also serving him
I
food,
think
which I thought was a cool thing
Yes.
because she's like, here's the queen, but I'm your niece and I'm serving you food and welcome you into my home.
I think that was also to convey she wanted to go to her family. She wanted this intimate moment. You know, they could have had the staff serving them.
Right.
I think she just wanted to kind of be one-on-one with him and have it like very family.
Right.
And that's why she was even kind of giving him the time of day
That's
after
true,
everything
because it
was
also
done.
brought him, like, it took down his guard as well, so
Exactly.
he could really open up to her.
Instead of feeling like they were performing for everybody. 'Cause
And then he had to
you
be
know,
on
all those
guard with
people are
everyone else.
watching and listening and everything.
Yeah,
So that was a very good episode. And then we get to the Great Smog,
loving it.
which, were you guys familiar with this whole,
Yes.
you were?
The Great Smog was big. It was a big deal. It's a
Yeah.
big deal in like British history.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no expert, but that's what I love about this show because it's like
Right.
giving me
It
drama,
gives
but
me
it's
more
also
of
history
a better
as well.
understanding of it. I had heard of it,
Exactly.
but I kind of didn't really
'cause
understand
London's
how
still smoggy.
devastating it was,
Right.
how many people died in literally the period of 3 days.
Right. I think it was like 3 to 5 days.
Something, combination of air pollution and the London fog. And people were really getting on Churchill about this because apparently the scientists had warned him previously. He had ignored...
What happened before? It wasn't new. So there was a situation where, like, London would be covered with coal dust, and it would be called pea souping, right? It was like pea soupers, where it was like all of a sudden, and people would have a hard time breathing. And, people would, and in this case, like 4,000 on the low end to 12,000 on the high end died in this matter of 4 days from whatever kids and elderly people and all that stuff.
Right.
So
And I think they were warned because it also happened in another state. I think it happened in the U.S. and that was their example of something like happening like this before.
Right.
And but he didn't take heed because he wanted the country to seem prosperous.
Exactly. He told them to keep burning their coal.
Right.
So all of the people that were against Churchill already kind of wanting to get out with the old and in with the new, jumped at this opportunity to try and push him out. Collins goes rogue and goes to Clement Attlee, I believe is the pronunciation, and he, who was Churchill's rival and
Clement Attlee. You kind of have to.
All right. Churchill's like rival and predecessor, and they show him this information and are kind of like, you know, move on it. And he's a bit skeptical, but then I think he would be ready to go. What did you guys think of that scene?
I found it interesting that here it is, he's getting this information that he can use to his own benefit, but he hesitated, and he still wanted to give Churchill a chance, which I found interesting because it's like, okay, this is an opportunity where I can shine, but it's like he still had a little bit of fear and respect.
The Trojan horse.
He had still a little bit of fear and respect for Churchill, which he was like, okay, let's give him a chance. Let's see what he does. And I think that's because he's still unsure of himself.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that he said that Churchill gave him the nickname the sheep in sheep's clothing. So it's like everybody had nicknames for everyone. Like,
well,
they're so cheeky.
Shade nicknames.
Yeah.
Well, they're cheeky because they're British.
I know,
like,
that's what
British
I'm saying.
Known for their cheeky humor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Winston Churchill. So in episode 3, one thing we didn't really discuss is the fact that we waited for the coronation so that Winston could get his house in order. Because they were trying to ask him for his resignation, which they wouldn't do as long as he was involved in coronation.
Right.
So he needed that time to get his ducks in a row.
Right. He needed Elizabeth as much as she needed him.
Exactly. Big time. Even probably even more because he's like fading out and she's going to become queen regardless.
Right.
So, but they knew that Winston Churchill is actually really good for the country. I mean, he's done so much, and he was as much a figurehead and respected person, like you said.
Right.
So they knew they needed to fear. He's still the Godfather. He's still Don Corleone.
Right.
All right. So they knew, even though he's old,
he was like the people's champ because
even
though his co-workers and other cabinet members didn't like him and wanted to push him out, the people still loved him, and it's like they needed him, and I think that's also what kept him in power.
Yeah. So he went and he met with Elizabeth, and she was kind of bringing up other issues and matter-of-factly dropped that Philip is flying, and he was like having none of it.
100%.
Which, I don't know. I found that such a difficult one because
Do you think
I understand
that was because Philip's sister had died in a plane crash, so he was worried about Philip's well-being?
It's also very dangerous. Flying at that time was
very dangerous. But I also think that it showed something about Churchill, that he's just kind of a control freak, and I feel like it was, you have to do this, you have to do, and I feel like he just wanted to control her. He wanted to control her, and I think whatever it was.
I don't know. I feel like
name, house, flying, whatever.
No, he was. I don't know if he was trying to control her as much as he was trying to control their tradition. Like, they have a tradition, it's set.
He respects the monarchy.
And he respects the monarchy, which they don't need to. The cabinet was established against the monarchy. Like, they have the real power.
Right.
So the fact they're keeping around, it's like, yo, we're doing all this. All you have to do is follow the little rules, bro.
But they don't know all the rules. That's why they need Churchill. He's like,
they know the
here's
rules.
Another lesson here. No, just like she didn't know that he couldn't sit down and have tea with her. So little
she
by
wouldn't
little,
have probably told him if she thought it was but she wouldn't have said it if she thought that it would have been something that would have caused an issue. I feel like she just said it kind of in
because she's still in the mode of a
conversationally.
common person, and
Yeah.
she doesn't realize as a queen there are certain things that you have to do. So that's
Yeah.
why he's her teacher, he's her guide.
But I really felt for her in that moment because it's like, this is my husband. Please don't take another thing away
we already
from
took the
him.
name. He can't have
Yeah.
the house, and now this.
Yeah, you're like,
I
screw
mean,
him.
no, because listen, to me, it's like, yo, if Philip don't want to do it, I'll do it. Call me.
Philip
She's
was
90
like,
now. Are you still down?
Yo,
Yeah.
I mean, on the low, yeah. Like, I want to be.
You
I
wanna be Wallace.
Listen. Okay.
You'll be the homewrecker.
It's not home wrecking.
Oh, right.
We didn't even know Philip was still alive. Like, I didn't even know he was still there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, Philip has responsibilities too, and he
Yeah.
knew what he was marrying into because he loves the ascension into power as well.
Yeah.
And so because of that, there are certain concessions that you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
And everyone knows this. He knows this more than anyone because he has an entire family of people who've been trying to do this their entire lives.
At this point, Philip, he says, look, I have a lot of time on my hands. Do
Right.
you notice in most scenes, Philip is the one playing with the kids? I don't think
yeah.
I've ever seen her play with the kids. And
No.
I think that goes back to him, one, now having to be kind of like Mr. Mom.
Sure.
Two, maybe he's closer to kids because he had a difficult childhood. I know, but it just still hurts my heart. And then three, it's like Elizabeth might be like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Like, can you do something?
You got that vibe. I mean, he asked like what she was reading and if he could hear about it, and she was like, no,
Right.
and like, don't ask again.
Poor thing.
And,
That's real though.
Yeah.
But that's real.
Yeah.
How do you think? Do we all feel this bad when Michelle Obama has to go through it? Like that's what I mean when
No,
I'm like,
I
I'm a
agree.
feminist.
I didn't see a problem
I'm a
with. I didn't
feminist.
see a problem with her
Michelle's
taking
feminist.
her job seriously. I didn't
Yeah.
see a problem with that.
think President Obama
I
can
just
just talk
feel
to
that you
Michelle about
should be. I think that Obama would take Michelle's feelings into consideration
Very much so.
100%, and that's what I'm saying. I understand her wanting to take his feelings
But there are
into
things that you
consideration.
can't discuss. Like, yo, I'm the president
No,
now.
100%.
You're my wife.
I didn't think there was
so
anything
let's flip
wrong
it.
with her doing that. I'm not thinking there was anything
Yeah.
wrong with her doing that. I'm just saying I think that you're exactly right, that she's kind of like, you deal with the kids because I'm working and
Yeah.
like this is serious, and like, yeah, I mean that's
we
the
slowly
role. That's
see
the
them
role they're
exactly creating the boundaries that
Yeah.
are going that they need to develop in their relationship
Yeah.
for their relationship survival as a whole.
Yeah. So then everyone is kind of dismissing this smog as nothing serious. Queen Elizabeth and Churchill, most of all, blaming it's just weather, it's weather, and everyone needs to calm down. That is until Venetia Scott, his
Can
secretary.
we give a moment of silence for
know.
Miss Venetia Scott because
just-
I loved her.
Because she has a black name.
No, well, no. I just
See?
I just thought she was so cute, and I just
She
loved
was
her
adorable. I
relationship
loved
with
her.
Churchill.
Yeah.
And I thought I was hoping to see a little love, a little romance.
I
or
No.
know.
Winston loves his
something.
wife. But
does
he's
love
married.
his
So
wife.
see how girls is like, if it's cute, it's okay. It's not okay. What if you were
No,
married to
Churchill
Churchill
Winston?
it's-
needed a
and-
little release.
I don't
okay?
think I mean I just thought it was really sweet because I felt like not necessarily love romantic because that'd be creepy because I think he's literally like 60 70 years maybe older than her.
May December
But
romance. That's a
she
thing.
I thought it was cute because she was kind of reinvigorating in him his initial spark and passion and fight and gusto.
And he remembered who he was and why he fought so hard to
Exactly.
to build himself up in this way. So, and she was inspired as well. And-
Exactly.
And he
Reading
motivated
his books and everything. Yeah.
But I think she was kind of in love with him.
I think she was
No?
in love
Possibly.
with the idea maybe of him.
Yeah.
Maybe she had a bit of a who
You don't
knows?
know. Venetia,
Why can't
she
people
was
just
staying
have, like, a
late after
mutual-
work
Yeah,
sometimes.
Relationship.
She
Why
was
can't-
reading that book with her feet by the
Exactly.
fireplace.
She didn't want to go to the bar with
Yeah.
her girls to
Yeah.
read that book. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my
that's love right
gosh.
there.
Yeah.
This isn't the Notebook, guys.
Churchill and Venetia Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, she's dead now.
Oh.
So,
That's real. That's real
know,
talk. She died, and
she
that
died.
was an eye opener for Winston Churchill
Yeah.
because that was like his ace. That was
yeah.
his ride or
He liked
die.
her.
Right.
Yeah.
That was his ride or die.
But her death wasn't in vain because although she thought she was going to storm off and talk to him and to make these changes, her death actually forced
Made
him
the
to open his
change.
yeah.
Well, Tehran, I was thinking of you because you were like, I can't wait to see what Winston Churchill does with his manipulative kind of ability to like get everybody to fall into line.
Right.
And he did it at the hospital by calling all. There's like he had this beautiful moment where you thought he was being like really sympathetic and everything, and then he was like, "Do the newspapers know I'm here?"
Exactly.
And like,
he's a G.
Yeah,
he knows how to use
He's
everything.
a G.
to his
He knows what
advantage.
he's doing. It's like PR. This is moves. This is politics.
Yeah.
The British perfected politics.
Yeah.
Okay. The French perfected bureaucracy. And
Food.
the British perfected
Bread.
No, the Italians perfected food.
Pizza.
So that's the way it works. Like,
French did
everyone knows these
fashion.
things.
Right.
All right, yes. So that was an unbelievable scene,
Yeah, I
and
just-
literally Elizabeth, because Uncle Dickie, Philip's uncle, had come and said, "Listen, you've got to get."
Churchill out.
Churchill out. Like, it's going to be a major problem. Everyone's against him. Everyone's ready to move forward. And even the advisor, I can't remember his name right now, that said, like, oh, your father had kept him in, but this is a different time, different sovereign. Go for it, basically. So she was all prepared to, had her meeting set up, and he pulls this fast one.
'Cause he's Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
I love the fact that everyone's talking bad about him, and then he's like, "Watch me work. Watch how it's done."
Yeah.
And he immediately turns it around. He assesses the situation, and he's like, "Okay, this is how I can use it to my advantage." And once again, the people love him.
And then the smog also went away.
Lifted.
So, you know,
Dissipated out of- okay, so this isn't the first time this has happened to Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
In the power struggle, right?
Right.
He's fell out of power a couple times.
Yeah.
Throughout this.
This is not
and
his
he
first
bounces
rodeo.
back.
Yeah.
The difference is this time, he does it, and we get to see it in front of the Queen. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word use, but he utilizes the Queen's sympathy
yeah.
to get back on his good graces, and she
Right.
can't go through with it.
Right.
She cannot go through with it. She was about to get him to basically force him out.
Yeah.
But she can't.
Yeah.
Because Winston is the dude.
And what did you think of that scene with his wife when he was
I
basically
loved it.
like, I did it all perfectly.
Well,
I saw her like pivot, but he actually also gained a lot of respect for her.
Exactly.
He was saying, he was like, she's smart. Like,
Yeah.
she changed it
Because he knew what she
immediately.
was going to do.
Yeah.
And then so he was prepared for that, but then she switched up and then he had to switch as well.
Yeah.
So it's like they're playing with each other. They have their
Chess.
this little dance
Yeah.
together. I love seeing Winston with his wife as well, because again, the wife is like who he comes home to. He may have been in love with Venetia in the office, but at the end of the
Allegedly.
day,
This is your-
Allegedly.
this is your-
You guys
I
made
know,
up an
it
entire
will never
romance.
happen. But he goes home to his wife. She's kind
Yeah.
of his confidant and like one of his advisors as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very good. So let's get into some predictions, shall we, for next week?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
We know your prediction. It's that Venetia Scott comes
Comes
back
back
to
from the
life
dead. Yes.
and has a love affair with Winston. Or
Unfortunately.
Churchill.
That's kind of
R.I.P.
spooky, this
Venetia.
music, by
I
the
know.
way.
love it.
It's always spooky. I don't know why predictions have to be so
Because
creepy.
it's like mystical, I think.
Yeah,
Mystical.
exactly.
yeah, like,
Oh my
ooh,
God.
can we
Psychic.
tell the future?
Exactly.
Can you guys tell the future?
Well, I think-
what do you think we have in store for next
I
week?
think that okay, so I haven't seen a fight between Philip and Elizabeth yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this fight to happen.
Yeah.
There has to be a fight. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We haven't seen the fight. I'm waiting for a
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah. Even I feel like the British don't fight, but it will happen.
They fight in their own way. They
Yeah.
fight in a very classy
Subtle,
way. Yeah.
like digs.
Exactly. I'm hoping to see more of Miss Wallace Simpson. Like, I love her. I just love how she's like so different from everyone else in the family. And I want to see more of her and the Duke of Windsor.
Yeah, both of those. And I'm also excited to see how Churchill, like how much longer he can stay in there and kind of work his magic.
Well, he's
on
got to
them.
die sometime. I mean, he's
I
getting
know.
old. I
Speaking
like
of
Duke of Windsor a
dying.
lot, by the way. I
Yeah.
don't like Philip. I like Duke of Windsor.
Yeah.
Really? You like the shady one?
I like Edward.
Why do you like the shady one?
I don't think he's shady.
That's the dark-haired guy, right? The one that is like the advisor
no,
that
Duke
told.
of Windsor is her
Edward.
uncle.
Edward.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dickie, Uncle Dickie.
No, her uncle, the one that was throwing
Edward,
the
the
shade.
actor.
Oh,
Abdicated
you
him.
like Edward,
Yeah, he
who
likes Edward.
abdicated the throne.
Exactly. But what I loved is how I just continue to love the grandma. So Queen Mary, I hope we see more of her.
I think she's gonna die
I
soon.
dislike every character you like.
No, but
I
that's
know.
okay. That's okay.
I
Differences
don't like
are
Queen
fine.
Mary. But
Did you see how they were like prepping for her death, like as she was in the bed? And that was
Could
the
you
thing. Like
believe
for
that?
many years, they had all the plans in place. She was actually also a participant in making the plans for her funeral.
Yeah.
And then she kept on not dying, and they had to keep on changing things. So I thought it was hilarious that they
That is
That
actually
is
kinda
really
that was
funny.
actually funny. funny.
Yeah.
Now as you brought it up.
Yeah, that was really funny. She's like,
not
close the
tonight."
window. They're rehearsing for my funeral. Like,
Exactly.
oh, how eerie. Yeah, well, awesome, guys. Let's all just say where they can find you on social media.
I am at Tsahai, SayHi, TSAHAI on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat.
And I'm at I am Tehran. I'm almost at 1 million followers. I just need 1 million more people to follow me. So if you guys can all follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Vine, WhatsApp, I don't care what it is. Find me at I am Tehran, IAMTEHRAN. If you don't know how to spell Tehran, just watch CNN.
I love that. And I'm Angela Struck, and you can find me on Twitter at @TheAngelaStruck and on Instagram at Angela Struck. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Do they have Thanksgiving in England?
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.